Hello, Cancer. How's everybody doing today? I hope that you're having a great day, that you're ready to receive all the messages that are coming through. It's been a busy sort of download that I've been getting this morning, so this is going to be an important month ahead for you. In fact, I feel like some of this is starting right here and right now, so I'm so happy that you're taking some time to be present and join me. Let me just give you a quick introduction. My name is Nicholas Ashbaugh. You showed up for a monthly reading. The monthly readings last about 6 to 8 weeks, so it doesn't matter when you watch it, you're showing up at the right time for that. And Apollo is sleeping under the chair. It's a little warm today, so he's just cooling off there. Let me talk about how the format is arranged, and then we'll get into all of the messages for you. So I like to begin with what largely comes from dream interpretation. For the past 2 nights, I've been receiving like nonstop dreams for your sign. So a lot to share here in the channeled messages. So that'll be the first thing that you see in the list. And that is basically me working with my guides and then your guides as well and conveying what I receive. Then we'll take a look at the Celtic Cross. And of course, the Celtic Cross is going to give us an opportunity to go a little bit deeper and really understand all the twists and turns and positives for the month ahead. I always expand the forecast, and that is a way to look at the elements that you like, which is health, wealth, love, and destiny. I let the main spread take on whatever energy it needs to take. So the expanded forecast is a place where we can highlight those specific points. Then we'll look at an overarching idea, the big idea for the month. And then I throw it back to you for some interactive elements here. So we'll do a reader's and a viewer's choice at that point, looking at some things that deserve a little bit more attention because the Celtic Cross can only cover so much. I always like to also look at blessings and blocks. And then at the very end, we'll wrap up in a really cool way where we'll do a healing meditation. And I already have an image of what we're going to do. We're going to work with a water lily for this. So stick around for that at the end. It's a good way to push through negativity or push through difficulty. And then I'll pull a final card at the end based on a silent question that you ask me. And that kind of hopefully proactively answers one of your questions, which is I don't take questions live. A lot of times people want to know if someone's coming back or if they should make this decision. That's what the reading's for. You'll be able to kind of cover all of it because you can see how in depth this is. So that's everything in a nutshell. A couple of other quick notes. If it's your first time here and you like what you see, please help me out by hitting subscribe and also giving a thumbs up. If you really want to be kept in the loop, you can hit the bell icon or you can follow me on social media. I always put reminders in the story areas on Instagram, on Facebook, and also I will tweet out the day of the reading, what's going on. And I've started putting snippets across all social media, including TikTok. So if you haven't followed me on TikTok, you can also do it there as well. Also, my website is a great place to go for information on when I'm live, and I actually pin that link at the very beginning. And if you want to just say thank you and give a little bit of love and support, it's more than welcome. It's optional, of course, but it helps. And I'm actually in the process of purchasing some new decks. I have some coming in today and tomorrow. So by the weekend, maybe by the next reading, I'll be able to use some of the new ones and put some new things into rotation. I always reinvest in the channel. So thank you so much. I will individually call out anybody that gives back a little bit at the very end. Okay, so that's everything in a nutshell. Let's go ahead now and talk about your channeled messages here. So let me just get the presentation ready and we'll get started. Okay, so some really exciting things this month. Here we go. Hopefully you can see me now. Okay. So when I was looking at the Farmer's Almanac and also kind of based on what I was seeing in my dreams, there's 2 new moons. Depending on your geography, people I think that might be in the Mountain Pacific and maybe even like Hawaiian zones, anything kind of like west of the Pacific zone, you'll get 2 new moons in a month. I think anyone that's on the east coast of the US or in Europe or Australia or in Asia, I think it's going to be on the 1st of April, but it's very close, basically bookending the next month, which is exciting. So 2 new moons, and we'll talk about what that means. I was shown this sort of interesting scene that reminded me of a spacecraft that was launched, the Voyager 1, in particular, a golden album that's on it. So we're going to talk about that and how this kind of plays in. And then I saw a lot of hummingbirds, actually. So we're going to talk about hummingbirds, which are auspicious, but they can also be challenging, and I'll kind of cover off both of those here. Okay, so let's get to the next slide here. As I said, 2 or more new moons are on the horizon. Sorry about that. And this means that the bookended energy of the month is all about beginnings. And anything that you put into sort of action this month, you're going to see great energetic return on it. So I have the Eight of Pentacles here coming through because to me, that's one of the best cards for returns. I would say for you, this can start right now. Yeah, we're mid-February, and that's okay if you're watching this live. Get ready so that when you kick off the new month, you're already maybe started on something new. So you can even start something new at the end of the month too. So I see just a really nice, productive 6 to 8 weeks ahead of you. Remember always to look up. This is something that my mom and I actually talk about this a lot. And it's not just about locationally looking up at the stars. It's about looking up and around. And so a card in tarot, which I didn't feature here, would be the Four of Cups, where the person's kind of sitting there and there's this option in the sort of being offered to them from the universe. The reason you want to look up is opportunity is knocking, and I chose the Ace because right now energies like enthusiasm, optimism, positivity, just like feeding rain or a little sapling, these are positive energies that help it grow. When you're kind of entering into fear, doubt, uncertainty, jealousy, or just malaise, then things stagnate, they don't grow. And because you have two growth spurts at the beginning and the end of the month, or the beginning of the next month, depending on where you're located, you don't want to lose momentum. So look up, look around, be aware, and avoid Four of Cups energy. Sometimes thinking the grass is greener on the other side. Sometimes wishing you could have something that's not in front of you. Use what you've got, and kind of like a gardener would do, make new starts from that. You can propagate by cuttings, you can reseed. You've got a lot of resources right in front of you that can be tapped into. This is the exciting piece here. Actually, there was one thing that I want to cover before I go there. At the dreams that I was having the last couple of nights, I saw myself at a construction site. And to me, it was probably what would have happened after the tower took place. So this is basically taking all of what was and deciding to rebuild. Tower energy can be positive, especially if you purposely take something down. Think about renovating a house. Think about buying a lot and just kind of demolishing a house so that you can use the lot and the materials for something else. The tower can sometimes be that a decision that this is the right way to do it, and I'm going to have to take things apart in order to rearrange them. And the new moon, the two new moons, showed me that there's probably two big phases, or that you might be juggling two things at once. So that Ace could easily become the Two of Pentacles, in which case you're going to have to take some time and prioritize and say this first, then this, okay? So that was an important piece that I wanted to cover before I go into the next piece. And this one was really fun and unusual. The sort of setting on this one, to me, it doesn't, like, it's all symbolic. So I saw myself at this sort of intergalactic council, and there was a bunch of different representatives there, and I was watching as someone from Earth was talking, and I was sitting next to someone who was not from this planet. But the person that was from our planet was talking, and it was boring. It was kind of like if you listen to a politician talk and they say a lot, but nothing at all. That sort of just rhetoric. And the being turned to me and said, "When is this person going to stop talking?" And I'm bored and I'm confused. So this was a really important piece about understanding your audience. So sometimes when you go and talk to a group, you can sound like you're the alien from outer space because you have to kind of tailor it to their language, to their experience, and to their expectations. So I had this really cool flashback as I was thinking about how I could kind of convey it to you. So I got all of this from the JPL site, the Jet Propulsion Laboratory for NASA. And I remembered as a kid getting a book from the library and learning about the Voyager 1, which was one of the first spacecrafts that we sent out into space. And it's pretty darn simple by today's standards. Let me see if I have it open in my web browser. Let's see. I do, but I can only share one thing at a time, so I'll just focus on this. But basically, it looks like a dish network sort of thing. It's just a satellite dish with a few arms on it. But part of this, a special piece of this is that they worked with Carl Sagan to create this golden disc. Let me show you another version of it because I think I have a better one here. So there's this golden disc, a vinyl record, but it's carved out of gold, basically. And on this, they have sounds of the earth plus some diagrams showing that we understand things like mathematics, chemistry, biology, physics. And the cool little star thing that you see here is actually, I think, pulsars to help locate our particular solar system. So what's cool about this is it's very simple. And then they also used, I believe, if we look at this other one, it was a diagram of telling them what was on the recording and how to do it. So we put very simple language in order to show that we understood that you don't have to show off. There didn't have to be complexity here. One was showing them like how to play the record. And then this is again the location. This is the mechanics of how to play the record. This is our location in the system. And this is also just showing the video signals, how to tune into it. So we left some instructions, very simple instructions, very simple medium here, and something that, interestingly enough, because it's gold and because it's analog, it probably will last forever, for a long time. So they chose something that was smart, unlike some of our computer systems that, may kind of deteriorate out there. It made sense to do something analog, old school, and with simple diagrams. This is important because we are here, it's very cool that they chose a scientist to design this rather than a politician, because it was about keeping it simple. Carl Sagan actually put some cool stuff on this, him and his team. So they did the sounds made by the surf, the wind, thunder, birds, whales, other animals, and also musical selections from across the world, both popular and also just cultural music as well. The way that he described it here is the final paragraph saying the spacecraft will be encountered and the record played only if there are advanced spacefaring civilizations in interstellar space. But the launching of this bottle in the cosmic ocean says something very hopeful about life on this planet. And so I like that he was assuming that there could be intelligence out there. So when you're talking to people, assume the best. He tailored it so that it would be easy to understand, and he didn't make any assumptions. And he tried to show representation from across the world at that time as best as possible, including different languages. So I think that this is a really great way of showing the importance of knowing who your audience is. So make sure that you're concise, make sure that what you said and what you're saying is timely, and make sure that it will age well, that it's not too much of a trend. So kind of the antithesis of everything you see on TikTok. And we would not want to put a TikTok video on that. We'd want to put something representative of our true ability to kind of put art out there. And I say that with love because I'm on social media, but like looking at a book, looking at a movie, looking at some sort of architectural thing. This other stuff is interesting, but it's more topical. It's more sort of fun. So anyway, knowing your audience, saying something that's going to age well, making sure that all of the parties are represented equally is going to be important. If you do this, you're going to excel at any form of communication. So interesting to think that little satellite's floating out there in outer space, waiting to be received one day. Couple of cool movies, by the way, if you want to connect with this sort of thought, is the first Star Trek, the motion picture. There's this entity called V'ger that's kind of based on Voyager. So not spoiling too much, but that's a cool one. And then one of my favorite outer space movies where it's like a first contact is Contact, also written by Carl Sagan and starring Jodie Foster. It was a bit of a flop in the box office because I think it was too cognitive. People were expecting to see like aliens from outer space, and it's not what you think, but it's cool, and it's probably how First Contact would be. Similar sort of thing, but in reverse, where we receive instructions from another galaxy on what to do. So these two things show like what would happen if that Voyager craft kind of gained sentience, and the other one was what if we get something and try to find a way to connect. Two very cool movies if you haven't seen them. All right, while sitting at the table, they referred to you as the star or the star child or something like that. And I like to remind everybody as much as possible that we are all luminous star beings. We're made from stardust. But what's important for us to be able to assume the mantle of the star card in tarot, we have to stay authentic. We have to be honest. We have to really use our heart and our brain. If you're just using your brain, it sounds like it and it doesn't connect with people. So find a way to really get passionate about it and to tap into what they're passionate about too. And that's going to make you shine in this month ahead. But the fact that we have 2 new moons, that I saw the star symbol coming through for you, and also the hummingbird, which we're going to talk about next, it portends really good things for this upcoming month. All right, so I did see a hummingbird. I actually saw like either 6 or 8. I couldn't count all of them. Any of you that have those plastic feeders where you basically make the sugar water and there's like little red flowers, you know what I'm talking about. I think they're pretty much, across the world you can buy these or create them. All right, so what happens sometimes is once the birds find where it's at, they get very territorial. I love hummingbirds, but if there's a feeder and this constant source of food, they kind of dive bomb one another. And I saw 6 or 8 gathering around this, and they got so kind of fierce in the competition that they started to knock the feeder over and it fell on the ground. It didn't break, but it did show that competition could create a setback. Friendly competition is good, but if one focuses only on who's winning, then nobody really wins, everyone loses. And you see this in arguments all the time where someone has to be right. Everybody ends up being frustrated. Take turns. That's what the hummingbird was teaching us today. Normally I would geek out on all the facts about it. It was pretty clear here that it was about competition and elevating and trying to sort of stay on the higher end of things. Everyone should take a turn at the wheel, driving and deciding and shining. Like flower nectar, there's more than enough opportunity to go around. You're going to need to take a rest. There's a special state of sleep, I think it's called torpor, something like that, where the hummingbird will sit and perch, and you may think that it's not breathing or it's not alive, but it just slows its heart rate and it's breathing down to almost nothing. And overnight, it just takes care of itself, and because it can't eat, it can't feed at night, and it has to keep feeding because of its metabolism. So it slows the metabolism down. So even those speedy little hummingbirds have to sleep and have to take a break. So if you've been moving really quickly and trying to get everything done constantly, take a break, relax a little bit, and go into that restorative state. It doesn't have to be a long time, but there does have to be sort of ebbs and flows to what you're doing. Treat your body with care. It's a sort of organic machine, but it's not like a mechanical machine where you can put it back together when pieces fall apart. So the reason that you need to take a rest and take turns is just for that, to make sure that there's something there tomorrow that you can keep using and keep working with. I think that's everything for today. So some beautiful messages overall, but one of the most difficult things sometimes is just being able to kind of pace yourself, right? And feel like it's going to be okay. And I think that's the last piece that's the most important. Don't sort of burn yourself out. Don't sort of consume all of that energy so that there's nothing left when you're all finished with everything. So, all right. If you just joined, perfect timing, just a reminder of where we're at. We just got through the channel messages. We're going to move along next to the Celtic Cross. And today is one of the days where I decided I'm going to let you vote on it. So let me grab the different decks that I've chosen for today, and I'll see if I missed anything. Again, I'll be adding some new ones into rotation, but I tried to pick some that we haven't used as much. I'm going to use a different one than this. So let me take a look over here and see. Okay. So let's put these on the table, and then I will number them and help you find out like which one is which so you can vote. So we have a couple of interactive things today. The first one is this. I like to kind of reward people that show up live. So we'll start with allowing you to choose the deck that I'm using. And then from here, we'll go into, like I said, a viewer's choice a little bit later. So the ones that I was called to look at today are Raven's Prophecy, Green Witch, St. Croix, and the Luna version of Ethereal Vision. So let me set up the poll right now, and then you can vote on it. Okay, so just give me a second here to pull up the browser, and then we'll get started from there. All right, so which deck would you like? So we again have, and don't type it out in, you can only vote on it if you're watching live. So just, you'll see the poll in a second. You have to be able to see chat to be able to do this. Prophecy, Green Witch, and St. Croix, and Luna. All right, so I just threw this out for you to vote on. So go ahead and do that. And while you're doing that, I'm going to take a drink of water. And quick reminder while we're getting set up here, if you'd like to, you can follow me on social media. Here's all my links. One of the best ways you can show support is just by liking and subscribing. So please consider doing that. It does help the channel grow. And I know that you probably get tired of us creators kind of talking about that, but we have to do that from time to time. So thank you so much. All right, so it looks like The Luna deck is in the lead. I'm going to show you quickly what some of these look like, and then we're going to get started because it feels like we've got a winner there. So the Raven Prophecy is a pretty cool deck here. You're going to see some atypical cards here, very focused on like just one image, not so much the traditional Rider-Waite, so it differentiates quite a bit. Green Witch is a really cool deck that just has some beautiful colors in it, some Druid type energy as well. I like it. And then we have, sorry, these decks are now sliding into each other. St. Croix, which is also very unique, does not have a traditional Rider-Waite-Smith take at all. This one, if you've ever had the Ethereal Visions, it's an updated version of it, a more diverse sort of representation, some new imagined images. So let's see. Looks like by a landslide, it's the latter. So I'm going to end the poll now, and I'm going to carefully put these to the side and just make sure that indeed it's 42%. And then we'll get started. All right, without a shadow of a doubt here, it looks like it is Luna. So thank you everybody who voted today. And don't worry, you'll get other chances to vote. I regularly do this for people that watch. Okay, so let's take a look at the Luna deck. And again, I'm reading for Cancer for the next 6 to 8 weeks. You can look at it for Sun, Rising, Moon, and Venus. All right. Definitely one of my favorite decks. I think you made a great choice with this. The artist who created this, they did a really good job of updating it as well. I kind of don't use the old Ethereal Visions anymore because this just has some cooler cards in it. All right. Very cool that we got the Destroyer coming through for that. I know you're like, why is that cool? I think it's cool because we were talking about the tower energy earlier. I like that we see the star at the center of that. Okay, we had 2 cards that volunteered. Actually, we had like 3 here, but I'll let them come through. There's a story that wants to be told. Okay. And we also have a volunteer here, which popped up upside down. Lots of volunteers. The cards are pretty active for you today. All right, let's get everything set up here. We're going to begin with this beautiful Destroyer card. So let's take a closer look at this. So to me, wow, we can see like an owl kind of looking out at the center. Interesting thing with the owl is it's also kind of connected with the same sort of energies of like ETs out there. It can sometimes be like something that we would look at and kind of, okay, so talking about the movie Contact, there was a being that she saw that had to come through in a different way. So sometimes guides and angels show up in a way that we can recognize. So one of the symbols for other earthly or otherworldly beings, I should say, would be kind of like an owl because of the eyes. So I definitely get what the artist was going after here. So the Destroyer, we also see like wisdom in the owl. I think of Athena. I think of knowing what to do, how to do it, when to do it. So Shiva the Destroyer, of course, also coming through with this. Destruction and creation, very similar energies. You need one to kind of create the other one. So for you may be at this precipice where in order to get to that next step in your journey, you have to kind of see what I saw there, which is the possibilities. Like you're going to have to take something down or take something apart and stand at the construction site in your mind and think, how do I either recover from this or build from this or move past this? So it feels like there's either a virtual wall or some sort of a blockade, mental or otherwise, that you have to kind of push through in order to become that star that we see here. We also see twin stars at the center, which is great. I mentioned more than I can count that there's always room for more than one star. And most galaxies have more than one star at the center. Ours is kind of one of the exceptions. So this is why I was kind of sitting there and talking so much about the importance of allowing other people to shine, having everyone kind of have a seat at the table. So this is important. I think that there's going to be some strong personalities and some strong opportunities coming through, and you're going to need different people to take on some of these different roles and whatnot. So don't feel like they're going to outshine you. We don't see that happening here. We see two equally brilliant stars, same size, same sort of light, okay? So you are going to have your moment in the light here, the limelight, but one of the things that you're going to be asked to do is to let go of a habit, to take something and break it down, to try something new, to try something different, okay? Let's look at the table here and see what the spread of cards is showing us here. So smack dab in the center, we have a card that really harkens back to making choices in how to balance your time, how to make smart decisions. We have Six of Pentacles. Unfortunately, it's reversed, so that's going to mean that one of the things that you're going to have to do is probably say no, which could be outside of your comfort zone, but it is going to be essential to, again, having that success in your life. Let's look at the card in the upright position. We see people coming through and saying, I really need this, or please, me. There's a lot of folks kind of tapping your resources and hoping and expecting for support, a handout, etc. And for you, you may also be the kind of person that is putting yourself in positions where you're kind of overextending yourself. So you see someone and they haven't asked for help, but you offer it anyway, or someone just asks you to do one thing, but you decide to go above and beyond. It's okay to occasionally do this. This is how you can shine. But if you do this all the time, you kind of destroy your energy and your momentum. So you have to really decide how and when to sprint that extra part of the journey. So you can't do it the whole time. So this is making smart choices on how and when to give a little bit extra. And sometimes holding back a little bit so that you have more to give later in the race, okay? So the good news with Six of Pentacles is if we're looking at the sort of figurative or kind of symbolic question, do I have enough? This tells me, yes, you do, but it's important for you to make some smart decisions and say no occasionally. Because if you try to do everything for everyone or do everything all the time, then you will eventually kind of peter out, the battery will be on empty and you'll be forced to take a rest, okay? So you have more than enough, but there's going to be some important choices on how and when to give. Some of you have a hard time saying no. That's really what the Nine of Swords is about. You also might be stressing out on how to make something happen in your life. That can be peer pressure. I don't always read this card as that, but because of the way this card is illustrated, I definitely see the maybe societal pressure, peer pressure, sometimes just the sort of fears that we create and conjure up. But they are things that you can push away. They are illusions. They aren't as strong as you. And really what's happening here is there's just your opportunity to step up and realize I have the power to say no. I have the power to give and to take, and I'm going to use it. So give yourself that power to say no, to push back. Focus on the quality, not necessarily the quantity of your sleep. When you do sleep, is it restless? Are you having a hard time falling asleep at the beginning of the evening? And so what you want to focus on is all the things leading up to it, because usually sleep itself, that is sort of like it's affected by what you're drinking, like how much caffeine, how much sugar, how much nicotine, maybe if you're smoking or something. What are the sort of substances that you're putting into your body? There may be a lot of mental stress. So you may need to talk to a friend or a counselor in order to kind of like empty out the reservoir in your head so that you're okay. There also may be just exhaustion emotionally or physically. So taking care of the full picture when it comes to mind, body, and spirit will help you with what really could just be a symptom in the Nine of Swords, which is I'm restless because of all this other stuff. So definitely take care of yourself. The good news with both 8 and 9 of Swords is it's usually not as bad as you think. If you have something that you have to say to someone, the minute that you just get it off your back, off your chest, you start to feel better. So don't delay. Definitely start to take action and do what needs to be done, okay? As we look here in your deep past, we have the Six of Wands, which is success. A lot of you out there today, Cancer, just may be really focused on wanting to please people, because this can be a card of optics and people pleasing. Let's look at it up close. So ultimately, it is success. This one is a unique one because we don't necessarily see the people that much. You can barely see them in the background, but it's really focusing more on your pressure on yourself. Wanting to, sometimes we need it from a boss or a friend or a teacher or whoever, and you just really want to hear like that gold star, good job, you hit it out of the park. Don't stress out if you're not hearing it, because it doesn't necessarily mean that you're not doing a good job. The Nine of Swords can cut a few different ways. A lot of times someone else in your life is so stressed out that they're not paying attention to you. It's an inward facing card, but it's not really focusing on what's going on around it. And so it hasn't necessarily, going from the 8 to the 9 of Swords, it's still sort of, you're in that place of fear and anxiety. So letting go of that and focusing more on, well, I feel really good about what I did. There weren't any complaints, so I'm going to push forward. I can check and ask for some feedback. If none is given, then I'm going to assume that I'm doing a good job. And assumptions here seem to lead to that sort of conclusion with the Six of Wands. I also see that you've worked really, really hard to set yourself up for success. So we don't even need to kind of like put out any assumptions for the future. I just know that you have the capability to be successful, and all you need to do is believe in yourself. And sometimes we are not given that extra nudge and that extra support. So hopefully tuning in today gives you that, okay? As we look at what's going on in recent past, this is possibly what's causing some of the problems with your sleep. We have the Four of Swords. The Four of Swords is reversed. We're going to use the sort of water lily or the lotus flower in our meditation later, but I'm going to talk about it right now. The reason that I love the lotus or the lily is that in order for it to grow, it has to push through a lot of sediment, a lot of mud, a lot of murky waters. Nonetheless, all of those beautiful, what do we call it? Like the lily, the pads. Yeah, basically all of the leaves that are on the top and then that blossom, they have to push through, and somehow they do it, and then they grow and they thrive. So you're growing and thriving even if you're pushing through the mud and the sort of murky waters of relationships, of your own sort of internal mind and fears and all of that. You're going to be fine. But I do think that some of you have pushed yourself too far. Four of Swords in reverse is, I need to sleep, but I can't. And the answer to that, again, when we go, all the answers are right here. So I feel like some of you are too focused on having to succeed. You're not saying no enough. You may be sort of stressed out about what will happen if either someone comes to you and says you have to do it, or if they're not happy with this, or if they won't let you say no. Just try and say no, be strong, and you're going to be okay. Then we have the Three of Wands here on the top. So this is just a temporary little hiccup until you get to more success. This one shows you that not only is success at hand, but it's underway. So the Three of Wands is missing the ships coming in, but in a traditional Rider-Waite-Smith card, you would see the ships there. So I'm going to take a wild leap of faith and say he needs to get dressed, and he needs to get to the bottom of the hill, because probably at the dock, the ships are there waiting for him. Sometimes we're so busy looking for something to come through in a particular shape, time, or form that we miss that it's right here already. So I actually think that this, because he reminds me a lot of an emperor, like a Roman emperor. He's too kind of focused on his way, too confident. And I think it would be better for him to kind of meet the ship at the pier and get to work. So this is a reset. And it's a wake-up call that whatever you want, it's possibly coming, but coming in a different package. And if you can work with that new package, then you can make progress faster. If you kind of wait for the other thing to come through, you could be losing traction. Okay? And also just potentially perspective. Shifting your perspective is going to be so important. Okay? So let's take a look now at what's coming through here in the near future. We have the lovely angelic temperance card here, which is reminding you of a few things, that progress happens one step at a time. Normally she would have 1 foot in the water, 1 foot on land. It also reminds you of the importance of patience and basically not overreacting. So this month, as you step into new things, one step at a time, realize that divinity, providence, the powers that be, you are being guided. You are being sort of nudged in the right direction. But patience is part of that journey. and it's going to be really important for you to just sort of like let things happen in the proper time, okay? There may be people around you, again, that are a little bit lukewarm. That has more to do with what's going on with some of them than what's going on with you. Keep the passion burning. Look at the beautiful path on the horizon here if we look in the background. And patience will pay off, okay? A lot of springtime flowers on this too. So for those of you that are going through winter or in a cold sort of environment here, I think that as we're looking at April, May, and June, a lot of wonderful energy coming through in that period as well. All right. So change, we've got 2 change cards, and I mentioned earlier that you had the full moon as well. So we have the destroyer card here in your catalyst. By the way, just to review, the catalyst is always a card that creates action and keeps you on path. This is you this month, and you're coming through with the death card, which is transformation. So we have the 2 different aspects of this. In the book that I wrote, The Luminous Ones, my character had a bunch of titles because I would think anything, the character for death and transformation, because it had been around since the beginning of time. So like billions and billions and trillions of years, basically, it had been around. So one of its titles was death, one was transformation, one was the destroyer, one was the nexus of ends and beginnings. Like it was almost like the, what was it, Game of Thrones, the Mother of Dragons, where she had like 15 different titles, same sort of things. I say that on purpose, though. It wasn't just me having fun. Death gets a bad name when we're looking at the symbolism of death. Without death, there can be no birth or rebirth. Without death, we would overpopulate this planet. Without the seasons, we wouldn't be able to enjoy things like, the peach blossoms and cherry blossoms and all the beautiful sort of trees and the tulips and all the stuff that we've come to love, the crocus at the beginning of the spring. So seasons are a part of the cycle of life. Things ebb and flow, friendships end and begin. So for you, you are at that nexus of ends and beginnings, and I see a couple of new beginnings on the horizon for you. So the key challenge for you this month is not to focus on what was lost, not to stress out about what can happen or what may be, to instead keep your eye fixed on your goal, but also keep an open mind so that you realize that the shape, because I see death as a shapeshifter. That's what I wrote it as in my book as well. So I think that things can reappear or come through in a way that is completely unexpected, but also very exciting and fulfilling. So keep an open heart, keep an open mind. And I think that you're going to ease into change if you allow yourself much more easily than you would imagine, okay? You may be dealing with an actual loss in your life, whether it's material or maybe a person in your life, and you're dealing with grieving, and that's difficult. And I like to remind folks that grief has no expiration date. Forgiveness and grief, they take time, right? It takes time for the heart to catch up with the head. So give yourself extra time in the heart space this month. If you're mourning or even celebrating some sort of a change, it may take a little bit longer for it to sink in. So give yourself time. Everything is better in time. It heals. Also realizing that this is a chance to be at that construction site. So I also see death as the creator too. It kind of like when we look at a goddess like Pele, or if we look at the ocean like Poseidon, they have to, like, the waves will destroy, but they also bring rich sediment and beautiful things that can kind of help new things form. So volcano destroys, but it also builds land. So creation and destruction deities are often kind of like put together. So you have both this month. Embrace the ability to create, to destroy, and decide, what am I going to let go of, and what am I going to allow to grow in its place? All right, let's move along to the next card here. So we just looked at how you were showing up. The name of the game for you this month is change. And because it's here, it's okay. It's not kind of like you're not stuck anywhere. This is just saying you've got to change. This is saying you've got to change. So that's fine. Now we have manifestation. So you have both the Three of Wands saying things are happening. Now it's saying things are happening in real time. And I'll give you an example of something that happened just a few days ago. But I had an appointment after one of these live readings, and I had a lot to say, and I saw the clock, and I'm like, I'm just going to have to hope that I don't be late. But I'll probably end up being 5-10 minutes late. So I just went over. But as soon as I got offline, the person that I was supposed to meet said, I'm running 15 minutes late. So because I was manifesting it in real time, I thought, it's going to work out. I have to finish what I'm saying. because if I don't, then I have like that to worry about. So I kind of worked with my guides, and in real time things shifted, and I thought, oh, when you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, you're supported, and things get pushed around and it works. So I want you to trust that it will work. And the Two of Wands was reversed, which is disbelief, and you don't have time for that, because if you don't believe, then you're going to delay. And also, if you believe that something negative will happen, you may bring in reinforcements for that sort of experience, because we are co-creating with the powers that be our experience and our curriculum in this lifetime. So you can decide to pass over a certain lesson because it's not worth your time and energy. So just imagine now that you can create something quicker than expected here. Now we have the Four of Pentacles coming in next. Four of Pentacles can be a limiting card, holding on to something that you don't need to hold on to anymore. Four of Pentacles, Four of Cups, they would be kind of like sister cards in tarot, because Four of Cups, you're missing something obvious. Four of Pentacles, you're holding on to something unnecessary. They both require like release and refocusing. One thing that I will say, let me take a quick look here. I like that we have the Six of Pentacles at the center. Here, let's pull this down on the desk real quick. So this is showing you balance. This is showing you holding on to something, and sometimes not even breaking even in an exchange. So what the universe is compelling you to do at this point is to, if we look at the outcome in this one paired together, it's to speak up and to kind of reach for what you need, and don't allow people to take more than they need to. And when it comes to pay, you may be at a place where you need to ask for equal pay or equal opportunity, and you may be selling yourself short. So even if you run a nonprofit, you need overhead. You have to pay for equipment and staffing and all of that. So you have to make a certain amount, even when your whole purpose is to give back. And when you're running a business, it's nice to help certain people here and there, but you also need to cover all the costs, and you need to be setting yourself up for enough abundance so that you can live and eat and all of that. So the Four of Pentacles tells me someone is not getting enough in the exchange. And it's actually nicely connected to what we see here. We have 6 and 4 or 10. So 60-40 sort of mix. So the possibility here is you've got to kind of balance it out. Make it more 50-50, or make sure that you're taking turns if there's a partnership. We'll look more at love and partnerships in a few moments here, but one thing that I'm looking at here is definitely an opportunity to balance things out, okay? In the outcome, we have the Ace of Swords. What a great card to have in the outcome. Actually, if we look at the three pivotal cards here, this is where your head's at, this is near future, and this is future. I see something coming to fruition. I see an opportunity coming to you, and it's happening faster than you think, because in the environment, also we have Two of Wands. So Three of Wands, Two of Wands, Temperance, and Ace of Swords here. So manifestation, a little bit of patience around that, and then things happening when you stop worrying about them not happening. I talked quite a bit about this in a recent reading, which is this does require action and communication on your part. So if you're used to people coming to you, or if you're used to things sort of just showing up, this is saying, 1, that's not always sustainable. 2, you may be able to get something sooner or better, or just in a different way if you step up to the plate and kind of like make this happen a little faster. And also, this is a great time for you to use your communication skills. So really talking about what we did in the slides earlier, when it comes to communication, getting in, getting out, getting to the point, that's all going to be important. And again, of course, trying to do something that's timeless and appropriate for the audience. But you do have the ability to make a splash, and there is an opportunity for release and growth in rapid succession. You're not going to be left sort of just at that construction site for too long. I see a lot of rapid sort of development happening for you. Let's now move on to the expanded forecast. Expanded forecast includes health, wealth, love, and destiny, and each one of these is multi-part. We're going to start with your health cards, which kind of tell a story this month. So I'm going to start with, we have 3 here. This never happens, but it did today. So all of these are graphic only, so I'm going to have to channel each one live. So give me a second. All right, so your first one, I see sort of falling in or falling out is what I'm looking at with this. So if you find yourself falling in love, if you find yourself suddenly kind of thrust into a new situation, kind of like the first day of school or a new job, then this card is reminding you to take some time to get your head in the right direction. If we turn this card in the upright position, a good night's sleep is what I see. Upside down, I see Alice falling through the sort of rabbit hole. So this is why I want you to get some sleep. And one thing that I've learned as an adult, I didn't do this as much as a kid, but like if I'm burned out and I still have something that I need to get done, I'll just finish it tomorrow. It's never worth burning the midnight oil to the point, because usually when it's like after 2 or 3 or 4 in the morning, you're just frantic. Your brain is fried and you're not doing work that's good. It would be better to go to bed at 10 o'clock or 9 o'clock and get up at 4 or 5 in the morning. Get some sleep to buffer in between. And then you're surprised, like, okay, I can do this. Or I'm going to work smarter. I'm going to do just this, and forget the rest. So this is really about getting the sleep that we saw, which is perfectly in alignment to the health card rather, and helping yourself, okay? And we see also reaching out for help too. So if you need help, ask for help. That's past influences. So old habits are coming through with respect to health. Now, as we look at present opportunities, it's expansion. So first we're looking at the kind of cosmic expansion. We see the lotus blossom, and interesting that the lotus is coming through again and again. And I talked about the lily or the lotus earlier. So for many of you, an idea is coming to fruition. We see this person holding like a cosmic egg here, symbolic of something, or their belly, but it looks more like an egg to me. Something that's ready to be birthed. Something that also the universe might be handing to you, which would be an epiphany, a brainstorm, an idea. So when I get wild dreams, I write them down and I talk about them and I look at them and I tear apart the symbology and the symbolism in them, because I'm like, this is what it means. That's what I need to be focusing on. So you're being handed some intuitive sort of like gifts and downloads. Do something with that. Release. The present opportunity for you is release. Release the stress, channel the idea, talk about what you're holding on to. The sooner you let go of it, the better for all of you. Some of you may have something too where you're having the emotional sort of clinging energy is what's causing something in the body to sort of be stuck or to be held in place. Some of you may just be pregnant, and that's what this card is showing as well. Okay. Future card is the King of Wands here. I'm looking at him and I'm seeing intuition, I'm seeing insight, I'm seeing things sparking into reality, which I really, really like. So you're going to be able to get past this, and I see you really being in a good cognitive state. So if emotions are getting in the way for you, I see your head space opening up quite a bit. The things that you have to focus on, though, are getting enough rest and then also letting go of something, because that's why things are kind of occupied in your brain right now, okay? All right, let's take a quick look at the cards. I feel like we got a decent understanding of health just based on everything that I just talked about, but we already talked about sleep. You got both sleep cards here with the 4 of Swords and the 9 of Swords. So it's quality over quantity, and it's a reminder that you do need some. None of us are like perfect machines, and even if we don't think we need it, we're usually better off with getting some sleep. It's a really good time for you to reset and get rid of old habits, because this Destroyer card is saying, like, I'm ready to let go of, whether it's drinking or eating or they're abusing your body in some way, shape, or form. This is the time to make that change. You're going to see rapid improvements, but you still have to be patient with the recovery process. So expect the best and don't push things, and I think you'll be all right. With the 4 of Pentacles, a lot of times what's going on in the heart space is stress. And we might be holding it in our shoulders. We might be kind of like pulling in some of that sort of stress and energy. So focus on stress release. And one of the ways you can do that is by speaking, art, by just kind of somehow channeling the energy into something productive. Okay? So that, my friends, is everything with health. Interestingly enough, we have in wealth a card that absolutely connects to the worry energy that would be part of the 9 of Pentacles. The 9 of Swords. So let's take a look here at the worry card. It says, I'm learning that worry doesn't change an outcome. Amen to that. What would be better is to understand what is wrong and just to focus on how you can go about trying to cope with that or fix it. Sometimes especially any of you that have applied to college or sent an application for school, or you swipe in a direction on a dating site, or you express your true feelings to someone. Once that message in a bottle is sent, The most you can do is to hope and to focus on then what's the next message? What's the next seed that you want to plant? What's the next thing that you're going to take action on? You've already done that one. So control what you can control and let go and trust what will be with the rest. So that would be my advice there. Let go and let the universe have your back and steer you in the right direction, because it always does and it always will. All right, so let's go ahead and look at the cards here for additional wealth cards. I mentioned earlier that there's an imbalance in giving and taking here. So we have 6 here and 4 here of Pentacles. And so that 60-40 mix has to sometimes switch around. Sometimes you're giving more, sometimes you're taking more. And that, to me, shows good partnerships. But in work, both of these show me an ability for just a little more. So I do feel like when it comes to negotiating a salary or contract, trying to figure out what the next step is at work, selling an item, there's an opportunity for getting a little more. Buying, you actually may end up getting a deal. This is what it's worth. This is how much you pay. So you might be able to go to like a flea market, or there might be a house that's being sold and it's cheaper because they want to unload it faster. Very rare that happens nowadays, but something like that. You're going to get a deal. So good for you. Just make sure that if you're on the side of the coin where you're receiving, that you're not giving something away too much. Stress management is important. Sleep is important here as well. Your communication will surprise you when you ask for something. You have a way of getting at least some of what you asked for. It may not be everything, but it's a decent amount. So shoot high and see where it takes you, and I'm happy with that. Some of you are at a dead end in a career or in a path, and it's time to move on. So the good news here is that you can manifest in real time, and you shouldn't hold on to something that doesn't fit you. And you shouldn't let people hold you back. Push through that virtual glass ceiling, right? So change is necessary, but I see good things coming through, and you've done a good job. It would be different if we saw something in the past that didn't indicate growth and being deserving of an opportunity, but you've already done the work. So now it's time for you to be able to sort of cash in on some of that good karma and that good energy. All right. So overall, pretty good cards with work, with money. The one thing here again is holding on to something longer than you should, and that's something that you want to avoid here with the 4 of Pentacles. All right. Let's move on to most people's favorite. We're going to look at relationships. We have the giraffe coming through, one of my favorite animals on the planet, also endangered. So many of the animals now that I pull for totems or research are all endangered, but be that as it may, seeing the big picture is what's cool with this. The interesting thing for the giraffe, I didn't have this problem because I'm not like ridiculously tall, but I had some friends. One of my best friends in school actually was really, really tall. And sometimes they felt like, kind of like the giraffes, that they were standing out and they just wanted to be average height. It's kind of interesting. You always want something that you don't have. So with you may be standing out a little bit. I saw it in dreams as you being the star and them calling you like the star person. The giraffe fits the mold just as well. It's just a different symbol. So you may feel like you're standing out in the crowd, but guess what? The giraffe evolved this very long neck so that it could reach a food source that other creatures couldn't. It also can see things from a great distance, and it has time to move itself if it needs to, if it sees danger. So get that bird's eye view or giraffe's eye view and reach for something other people can't. You're going to be able to get it in a way that others will fail or kind of just be confounded, like, how did you do it? It's because it's good to have your head in the clouds sometime. So I want you to keep your head in the clouds, but look around and look at what's available up there. It's the 7 of, really, because we're going with tarot metaphors here, that would be the 7 of Cups. Brainstorming and getting above things. You don't want to stay there too long, but there's a little bit of an advantage here when it comes to relationships, that you're going to be able to see a way to solve something. So the relationships could be a working relationship and you're going to be able to overcome a block. You may have a really difficult interaction with the loved one, and you're going to have to be the one that kind of reaches high or stands out in the crowd here and says, okay, this is how we're going to fix this. Somebody's looking for direction. Looks like you might have to be the director this month. Don't be afraid of that, because I feel like you're going to be okay. It's just a matter of trusting yourself. All right, let's take a look at the other cards here on the table. I usually like to look at this in 3 different ways. We're going to look at it for those of you in a relationship, those of you looking for a relationship, and those of you that are single and happy. A reminder that for those of you in a relationship, you could also use this as I talked about earlier, maybe it's going to be a key working relationship or something of that nature. So use your imagination a bit with that. It doesn't have to just be love. All right, looking at the cards here, the center card is about balance and taking turns. So in existing relationships right now, who's giving, who's taking? Is this always the way? If so, it's time to kind of reverse it a bit. You have the ability to say no. Say no if you need to. Don't get upset if someone else says no for the first time. They probably really need to sort of just have a break, okay? Stress management is key. You or your partner might be stressing one another out. Make sure that the one that is stressed takes the time and energy that they need to kind of overcome that. And it probably would involve counseling or at least doing something different to make sure that you're reducing the stress-causing environmental sort of factors. I do see that you've gotten through a lot of challenges in the past, and you seem to be a good pair here with the Six of Wands here, meaning that you bring out the best in one another. So that's a really great energy. I would say if you could focus on trying to exist or to continue to bring out the best in each other, that would be an area where you would just really thrive. Some of you are at the sort of nexus of change here. So we have death. And there's a choice with the death card. You're either going to be patient with one another and work through this. It's going to involve talking, or you're going to move on. And if you move on, I see other things coming through in rapid succession. So the choice is yours. I can't tell you what to do. What I will say is I like that success is here. I like that patience is here. And I like that our outcome cards are pretty good. So if you want to push through it, it looks positive. If you don't, you're going to be okay. So really search your heart and your soul and think, am I just holding on, or am I holding on because I really love what I've got? Okay? That's the choice. If the relationship is peachy, I really want you to kind of take a look at finances and what's going on with that as well. And that could be an important piece to just make sure that you're both not missing something important. All right. Moving now to those of you looking for love. Do you have time right now? That would be my sort of question that I throw out to you, because Six of Pentacles and Four of Pentacles tell me that you're tapped for time, energy, and resources. This shows me a lot of stress. It would be hard for someone to come into your life and see these as inviting energies. So if you're looking for love, you got to get some sleep. It'll make you feel better and look better. If you are stressed out, you need to move past the stress. And if resources are tight, you need to focus on that. When you let go of that, then we start to see a change happening. But this is a month for internal work, I'm going to be honest. If you meet someone new, great. It's fine. I see things moving forward. But you really need to focus on your happiness and your sort of general well-being, because we didn't get a lot of court cards this month. So it is self-oriented. So that is a nice segue into those that are single and happy. You're doing exactly what you need to be doing. And I said that in one of my slides. I didn't necessarily articulate it, but you're at the right place at the right time. And for you, God, there's so much opportunity on the horizon for you. All you have to do is ask. This includes asking someone out, for those of you that are single and looking. So if you want something, ask for it. If you just want to focus on personal growth, I think that's the most important piece this month. Okay? See the big picture, see where you are, see why you are where you are. I think everything is going to work out just fine. And sometimes it's good to be the giraffe. It's good to stand out, right? So, all right, let's look here at the Destiny card, and we have the Harpy Eagle. Harpies are really cool. They have a very unique sort of plumage on their crown chakra there as well. What I like about eagles in general are very good at hunting, very good at looking at the higher perspective here when we're talking about the giraffe energy. So this is about seeing the big picture. This is about not just seeing the big picture, but also bringing in what you want. So you have the ability to manifest but this does involve action. So a harpy isn't just going to sit on its perch. It's going to see what it wants and it's going to go after it. Okay. And you have that capacity too. And you have that sort of nudge to be the active participant, to be the one that's pushing the needle forward. Okay. Really great stuff overall. Let's go ahead and pull one final card here for the big idea. And what is the big idea, you may ask if you're brand new? The big idea is one connecting thread. Much in the same way this kicks off the month, the catalyst. So if this kicks off the month, what is the answer to the destroyer? What happens after you release, after you shift and you transform with the death card? What's next on the horizon? And that's what we're going to look at with the big idea. So let me shuffle the cards and we'll see what's coming through. All right, so we have finally a court card here. We have the Knight of Swords. Knight of Swords is in the reverse state. Excuse me. So for many of you, there's a chance here to really, again, I can't underline enough how important it is to speak up. That came through in my dreams, and now it's coming through here in the cards. So to speak up and to also not be afraid to make a correction if needed. This can be you correcting yourself. This can also be you stopping someone from doing something that isn't quite right. So one thing that would be really good if you are giving instruction or overseeing. So if you're a manager, if you're a parent, if you're a teacher, if you're a doctor, anytime you're in a position of influence, I want you to make sure that when you give instructions, advice, or information to someone, that you follow up with, so what questions do you have? And could you just do me the courtesy of telling me what you heard? I want to make sure that I conveyed it in a way that made sense. So if they can't repeat it back, that is usually a sign that it doesn't make sense. If I try to teach someone, like sometimes I show some relatives how to use technology. So I'll demonstrate it and then I'll say, now show me what I showed you. And that's when like the panic, you'll see like their cheeks flush a little bit. I'm like, take a deep breath. Remember what we did. What's the first thing? Okay. What would you click on next? And I kind of walk them through it. So I'll show them, then I have them do it, then I might do it one more time, and then I have them do it again. Because learning is a process and we don't get the download immediately, which is why I don't always get when someone's impatient when you're trying to train someone, or if a teacher would be harsh on someone for not getting it the first time. It's just practice. Spirituality is a practice. So anyway, don't beat yourself up if you are corrected. Don't be afraid to correct someone else. The important thing is stepping in with compassion and saying, oh, wait a second, maybe I didn't convey this correctly. Let me just walk through it again because I think something got lost. Here's what I asked for. This is what I'm seeing. Is there a reason that it's differing? Was it just in the communication, or did you have a different perspective? Why are you doing this? Like, always open it up a little bit and become open-minded, the investigator, but do pause. Take a pause and step in and make sure that communication is working. So this Knight of Swords is not just the messengers, not the page, not just sort of executing an order. It's going to step through and say, but wait a second, is this the right thing? When it gets the order, and also when it gives that sort of energy to someone else, both times there's going to be a check and balance, all right? And that's very much connected to the Six of Pentacles, which is checks and balances here, okay? And balancing your checkbook, all of the above, all right? So I think if you put in those checks and balances, you're going to really succeed. Things may not happen as quickly as you want, but they're going to happen in a better way. And that's why we have the Knight reversed, and then we have this sort of patience energy coming through with Temperance, okay? Cool. All right. So let's go ahead now and move on to the next portion. We just did the big idea. We're going to now move on to blessings and blocks. Very self-explanatory with what a blessing and a block is. We're going to look at things to embrace and things to possibly transmute or avoid. So let me go ahead and give the cards a quick shuffle. We'll pull both at once, and then I'll talk about what we're seeing here. Blessing is the Seven of Swords reversed, and the block is the Fool. All right, so let's talk about what this means for you. So blessings can be in disguise, and this one kind of is in disguise. So the Seven of Swords normally is a card we don't want to appear in tarot because it can show that someone's getting away with something, that someone's speaking or doing something behind your back, that someone just isn't being completely honest. When it's reversed, it shows us that we've either learned about this or that we're putting a stop to it, which could be why the Knight of Swords was in reverse. This is saying, I see you and I don't approve or appreciate what's going on. So this is a resolution of conflict. It's a blessing. But the part that's kind of like a mixed blessing or a blessing in disguise is we're being asked, or in some cases forced, to look at something that we didn't want to see. But if we deal with this, we avoid the tower. And that's a good thing all around. Especially like a tower upright, which can just be like a mess that you have to clean up, versus a tower reverse, which is the construction site that I saw in my dreams. So many of you have this moment in time where there is something where you're having to be honest with yourself, or someone is coming through and they can no longer be dishonest about something. So transparency, honesty, and probably for some of you having to just walk away from something. Because Seven of Swords can also be cutting losses. So don't be afraid to cut your losses if you see that this person isn't worth it, this opportunity isn't worth it, and you just get this sense of like, I'm ready for something bigger, brighter, etc. So I think that this is the right time for you to kind of like move in that direction, okay? Now we have the block here, which is the Fool. The Fool card is very interesting because normally I would see this as a blessing. It's a great card. But the reason it could come through as a block for some of you is the leap of faith that's required. And it's sort of like, am I ready to do what I want to do? We look at his parasol there, and it actually has the stars in it, right? So the sky's the limit, but sometimes you have to remember to look up, like we talked about earlier. The dog that's in this particular card often is about making sure that you know where you're leaping before you leap. So yes, I want you to take the leap of faith, but I also want you to be prepared and have a sort of safety net. Because the Fool card, as fun as the energy is on this, we don't know how high he's kind of jumping, and he may not be paying attention to it. I like to pretend that this particular Fool is like Mary Poppins, and maybe he'll fly with that parasol, but you don't know. So prepare for the plan B, know what's going to happen before you take the leap, and know that you're ready for the risks associated with it, rather. The Fool is a calculated risk, so calculate the outcomes and then realize at a certain point you have to move. Don't get paralyzed by fear. Don't leap without thinking. That's the sort of thing that would come through for that. So cutting losses if necessary, and leaping, but only leaping when you're ready and you're willing, okay? I love the Fool card, though. It's a new beginning, and it's a nice sort of marriage to the Destroyer energy here, which is saying, again, a couple of new beginnings after something that you step away from. All right, so we're going to move along now to viewer's choice. The viewers and reader's choice are an opportunity for both of us to take a look at something a little bit deeper. So let me just slide the cards up gently, and I'm gonna I'll do a split view here as I'm doing this, and we're gonna take a look at some things that we can focus on. Okay, so let me go ahead here and create another poll. So this will be a chance for you to participate. Viewer's choice, and some things that I'm looking at here. I really want to get some additional insight into what to step away from. So we have the Death card here. So what is it that it's time to kind of move away from? So we're going to look at change, and it's almost like the energy of reinvention. So I'm going to do change and reinvention. Get my glasses out while I'm doing this. And then the next thing that I'd like to focus on here is balancing of resources, since we have the two unbalanced sort of energies here. So balancing time, energy, resources. And then for the third option, let's take a look here. I can't stop looking at the giraffe here. So I think the other thing that I want to focus on is how to be comfortable in the spotlight. How to be comfortable in the spotlight. I'm just going to have to say in spotlight because of the character limit. So there you go. So I'm going to throw that out to you to look at. And while you're voting on that, I'm going to look at a reader's choice. So for the reader's choice, I'm actually drawn to the Fool energy, since we just talked about the Fool. So the Fool, of course, is that leap of faith. I want to see what you need to pay attention to in order to take a really effective leap of faith. So that's my question while you're voting. So let's take a look and see what the cards have to say. Ace of Pentacles, it's a good opportunity. I like it. All right, so this is really easing your concerns or frustration over, can I do it, should I do it? It's really about how much you want it and how far you're willing to go for it, but I do see an ace here. So it does look like the risk is a good calculated risk. The one thing that I would also pay attention to is making sure that you're definitely getting a return on the energetic investment that you're putting forth, and learning the lessons of the balancing of energy. So we're not looking at that because it looks like change and reinvention are it's the winning one. So actually, no. Okay, there's two. We've got a tie here today. So I'm going to end the poll. It looks like we're going to have a pretty close tie here within 1 or 2 points. So I'll give you both. So anyway, when it comes to the reader's choice, I would say the important thing is to make sure that you are happy with what you're receiving, that it's worth that leap. Sometimes there's an opportunity that you just can't pass up, whether it's love or a job or a chance to learn. And there's a trade-off, but it's worth it because you really like what you're going to get back in return. If you're not sure about that, then you need to do a little bit more digging, okay? So let's go ahead now and take a look at the tide energy here of how to be comfortable in the spotlight and then moving to change and reinvention after that. So being comfortable in the spotlight, option number 1. Okay, so this is a really interesting and I would even say kind of unexpected energy to come through for being comfortable in the spotlight. So whenever the Three of Swords is reversed, there's a question. Are you comfortable in your own shoes? Do you like what you see when you kind of turn the lens inward or look in the mirror? Acceptance, self-acceptance, self-love is potentially one of the most important pieces to sustainable success and also to success beyond your wildest expectations. So loving who you are, loving what you're doing, and then not being afraid to share it because you're in the frequency of love. So the opposite of hate is love. The opposite of sadness is joy. So the opposite of the Three of Swords is saying, love what you're doing, love what you're saying, express sort of joy, and it becomes an almost infectious sort of energy that people can't help but kind of vibe with. So if you are not happy with something in your life or something in your person or something in your emotional state, then this is your chance to really fix that, work on that. And this is going to help you feel a lot more confident. I think this boils down to confidence and acceptance. So having confidence comes with loving yourself and accepting yourself. And there may have been people or experiences in your past that somehow interrupted that or took that away for a little bit, but you're going to reclaim it. Okay? So that's the answer to that question. All right. So the second one within 1 point here was change and reinvention. What a great one. I'm glad that we're going to have a chance to look at both of them. So let's take a look at change and reinvention and see what the message is for that. Okay, it takes time and it takes some work. We have the Five of Wands energy coming through for this. So anything worth doing usually involves a little bit of work. And so this is saying it's time to make peace with that work and understand that also, by the way, this card is the epitome of the competition energy that I talked about earlier. So reminding yourself that if there can only be one winner, then sometimes everybody loses. Like, is there a way to kind of give and take a little bit for it not to be so polarized, to remind yourself that you're on your own journey, that everybody can kind of win at their own lessons and their own experiences. So don't compete to the point that you destroy what you're trying to compete over, or that you lose the big picture, because both the giraffe and the harpy eagle were coming through to say, hey, don't get distracted. That distraction can take you off of the manifestation. You got two aces this month, the Ace of Pentacles and the Ace of Swords. So you really want to be able to embrace the opportunities coming your way and the chance to sort of make a difference with what you have to say. So overall, it's pretty good, but there's some work to be done. Sometimes we just want things to happen like that. And this card is saying it won't always be that fast. There's a little bit of work to be done, and maybe you have to also kind of like inspire cooperation where people just want to kind of like fight. So that's going to be one of the challenges there. And let me look at the question, the way I formed it again. It was change and reinvention. Okay, so the other thing for change and reinvention for you is I wonder if what you're doing just feels like you are clocking in and clocking out, whether it's a job or a relationship or whatnot. This is really reminding you of the importance of feeling something more than just going through the motions. So in order to truly change and truly to develop, there has to be that sense of passion too. So reconnecting with that spark, which by the way, we saw here in the health card, that's going to be essential. So you have the capacity to reignite the spark. Okay. All right. So let's take a quick look at where we're at, and then we'll get ready for, I think, the final portion here in the meditation and the final card. So if you're new, this is what we've done so far. If you just joined, We work through channeled messages, the Celtic Cross, the expanded forecast, the big idea, blessings and blocks, and the viewers and readers' choice. So now we're going to move on to the final portion, which involves meditation and also a final card. The final card is a chance for you to ask me something that I haven't answered so far. I'm sure almost everybody has something that they want to focus on, or you just want to know like what's around the corner. So if you just want to focus on the sort of wild card energy of what's next, you can ask that. For some of you, if you have a specific question that you haven't had a chance to ask until now, write it down on a piece of paper, keep it to yourself, and then I'll pull a card and we'll see the messages that are going to come through. Before I get into that, just a final reminder. If you want reminders of when I go live, a great way to get those is just to join me on social media. And I also put between 1 to 3 minute clips from the video. So if you miss something and you're like, oh, what's going on with this sign or what's going on there, you can get a little snippet and then visit me here on YouTube if you'd like to. Subscribing is a great way to give back to the channel. That it doesn't cost anything and it doesn't sign you up for anything. It's just a follow. I wish they'd call it follow, but it helps me grow and it helps me get served up if there's more subscriptions here. So hit subscribe if you'd like. The only thing that involves an exchange of money is if you decide to join and become a member or give back with SuperStickers or Super Chat. And if you like to do that, this is the way you can do it. Right here, you see it. There's a little icon that looks like a dollar sign, and that's a way to give back and help me buy new cards and do new videos, and I appreciate it. I pinned a comment earlier with all the live stuff, so all the live links, I should say, so you can go there if you need to find out more about me. Okay, so let's get into the meditation. I already know what I'm going to do today. It was one of those days where it just came through when I got up. So this is going to take about 2 minutes. I'm going to give you a poll before I get started on the meditation, then we'll set it up. So I have 2 instruments that I can use. You get a chance to vote on which one. I have a crystal pyramid, and I also have a singing bowl, also glass. So I'll throw that poll out. You can vote on whichever you would like, whichever you would like, rather. And now let's get set up for the meditation. All right. Take a moment now and just close your eyes. And I want you to tune into your body. Taking a deep breath, sitting up tall, stretching a little bit if you need to, then relax. You can move your neck back and forth a little bit as well, loosening up any of the tension that you might be holding on to in your body. And as you are sitting here now, I want you to imagine, and this should be easy for your sign, just imagine that you are capable of being underneath the water like a fish or like a mermaid or merman or whatever. See yourself as some aquatic animal or creature, and I want you to imagine that you're at the bottom of the ocean. And as you're looking around, you can see that there's some murky water around you. But your attention is drawn to these beautiful lilies that are stemming from the very bottom, and you can just see how far they've reached to get to the light. I want you to just for a moment reach out and touch the energy of that lily or of that lotus. And as you do that, you realize you're connecting yourself to the earth and to the element of air above you and to the sun as well. So being in the water, you're actually connected to everything just by touching the base of one of those blossom stems or leaf stems. And in doing this, you also kind of melt into the energy of the lotus or the lily. And you feel this sort of appreciation for where you are in your journey. Sometimes it's easy, sometimes it's not. The times that it isn't, you actually realize how much more you've grown. You get a thicker skin, you get a stronger spine, you get a different perspective, more of an ability to have empathy. Use all of this to reach up and go into the floral portion of this, the beautiful lotus blossom that's opening up, the beautiful lily that's opening up. Smell the wonderful fragrance that's a part of this lily blossom. See the hummingbirds and the bees and the pollinators gathering around you. And feel now that you have the potential to tap into that sort of lotus blossom. The lotus, of course, is associated with our crown chakra, the 1,000-petal lotus, right? So I want you now to feel connected to the earth through this lovely aquatic plant, but now really focusing on the crown chakra. Open up. And just like Voyager, that satellite that's going out, billions of light years into the unknown, I want you to open up your own sort of satellite here, your lotus blossom, and see what comes through. This is a point where I'm not going to really guide you. I'm just going to let you enjoy the sound bath here as I play the crystal pyramid and just enjoy what comes through. Okay? Take a deep breath, relax, breathe. And if you're looking for inspiration, if you're looking for insight, allow your guides to bring that through. All right. And I think it was a tie, but I'm going to go with the pyramid. Yes, because it was pretty darn close. All right. So just relax and receive. All right, take a deep breath. Allow your energy to return back into your body. And take with you whatever visions, whatever energy, whatever information was given to you. And if you didn't receive, just realize now that you're more open to receive. And you may see it in everyday life. Messages come in music, in dreams, and in synchronicities as we walk about our day-to-day life. Focus now on the final question that you have for me, whatever that might be. Don't type it out just yet, just focus on it. And I'm going to pull a card and see what's coming through. All right, so we actually got one of the cards that I alluded to earlier, the Four of Cups. So as a simple yes, no, this is actually saying you're missing something. There's a bigger opportunity, or there's more than meets the eye, or it's better than you think. So usually this is saying you've just not kind of like fully understood what's in front of you or what's available to you. So look a little deeper, take a little bit more time to soul search, but it's telling me you're where you need to be right now, or there's something, if you're thinking of doing something, don't overthink it. Also, just don't do it for the sake of competition, since that's one of our common themes this month, because with the Four of Cups, there can be this feeling inside that I have to do it because that person's doing it. And if they're doing it, what I'm doing may not be as good, like the grass is always greener. Really take a moment to do the research and figure out if it suits you, if it's what you want. And I think that's one of the most important things with that. We had a card that stuck to it, so I'm going to go ahead and pull this card. So we have the Ten of Swords on this one. One other thing that I'd like to say, this is not the main answer. This is the underlying issue. So for some of you, with the Four of Cups being the final card, the clarifying card for it is exhaustion. It could also be a fear of failure that's either holding you back from or propelling you towards something. So don't let the fear of failure stand in the way. Don't let failure stop you, because really all it is I always believe that when we are pushed in a new direction, that is a form of redirection and protection. So whether it's out and out rejection, that's protection. Whether it is delays, that could also be aligning you to a better path. Whatever you're doing, it's the right time. There's actually something that the cosmos is trying to give you, trying to align you to, okay? So this isn't as good as it gets, and this isn't all there is. There's a little curveball that's coming through for you that could make this really exciting. And as I'm reading this, oh my goodness, we have a bee that entered in here. So I will keep an eye out to make sure that the bee doesn't sting me. Actually, no, it's a spider. Okay, so we have a spider. I was looking at, what is that over there? It jumped down. So that's your final totem today, is that there could be an unexpected visitor. There could be an unexpected sort of twist, and also to not get caught up in someone else's stuff. Okay, so that is everything in a nutshell. What I'd like to do right now is to quickly go through and say thank you to everybody. I want to start by just welcoming the new folks here. So if this is your first time joining me, welcome. Good to have you here. And if you would like to join again, remember to click the subscribe button. For those of you that have watched me for like over 7 years, thank you for this journey. It's been a wild one. Special thanks to all of my channel members and Patreon supporters for giving me that extra bit of support to do what I'm doing. All right, I'm going to take a moment now to just give some appreciation to everybody that has been willing and able to give back a little bit today. So let me open up a window here and take a look at new members. All right, so I'm going to start with anybody that joined in the past day or so, just giving you some gratitude for helping out and making this special. All right, so looks like we have someone rejoining today, Corey Stewart. Thank you so much after 3 months of membership. It's good to have you back. Yuri Gonzalez also rejoining after 1 month. And then I think this is the last one. This is a person I saw when I logged in this morning, but Gabrielle Starr, thank you so much for joining. Brand new member, but someone that I've actually read for as a client before. So great to have some familiar faces. Good to see you. All right. For those of you that gave back in the form of a super sticker or super chat, let me just extend some gratitude as well. Pretty small list, so we can get through this pretty quickly, and then I'll bring Apollo up at the end. So Faran Aziz, thank you so much for kicking things off today. Jen G, thank you very much as well. Elaine Logie, Chrissy, I can't say your last name, I'm just going to say Chrissy C. Crystal Azure, and Lisa St. Clair. Good to have all of you present today. And I saw that we also had some folks using that cool opportunity to chat as a member. So thank you no matter how long you've been here or how short. I appreciate it. 62 and Sunny, yeah, thanks for your membership chat as well. All right, so that is it. Let's pull Apollo up for a final goodbye, and then we'll wrap up for today. A reminder that I'm going to be back tomorrow reading for Leo, and you can get my whole schedule on my website, as you know, nicholasashbaugh.com. All right, Apollo, you ready to say hello to everybody? You've been a good boy today. I know. Just waking up from a nap here, Mr. Apollo. So thank you, everybody. Lots of love and light from my furry companion here. And yeah, he's still halfway in slumberland. I hope you all are doing great, and I'll see you again tomorrow. And then I'll also be back on the weekend for a collective reading. I hope to see you there. All right. In the meantime, lots of love and light. Take care of yourselves, and thank you so much for being a part of this. All right. I'm going to put him down and sign off for today. Thanks, guys. Have a good one. Bye-bye.